Hey everybody, Jimmy Smith doing my post UFC 305 breakdown, kind of more the future of the middleweight division. I know it's been a while. I called ADCC last weekend in Las Vegas, got back Monday, and then I had to call Pro Box TV last night in Tampa. So I've just had a really busy week. Sorry, I haven't kept up, of course, with the breakdown because I wasn't here Monday. But that's why I'm not going to do a full breakdown necessarily. Go over my picks really quickly. To me, it's more about the future of DuPlessis and Israel Adesanya. I think it's a more compelling story. And should he fight Israel Adesanya at 205 pounds? Short answer is no, but I'll get right into it. So real quick to go over my picks. Carlos Prates over Li Jinglong by knockout, 4 minutes, 2 seconds in round number 2. Called that one. I thought Prates was a good pick. Thought it would be by decision because Li Jinglong's a tough guy, but got the first knockout of Li Jinglong's career. Great stuff for Carlos Prates. Yarino Rozenstruik over Tai Tuivasa by split decision. If you saw my breakdown, I went with the money. Tai Tuivasa, a huge underdog. I thought this was a coin flip fight, and it ended up being exactly that, a coin flip fight, split decision win for Rozenstruik. So I thought for the money, go with Tai Tuivasa at, I think it was 2-1, which was kind of absurd. Much closer fight than 2-1, but still, Yarino Rozenstruik winning by split decision in that one, close fight. This was the big upset to me. Dan Hooker over Mateusz Gamrot by split decision, so close fight. But, the old lion showing he can come up with a new strategy, new tools and new tricks. That's very rare in combat sports, that someone says, I'm going to do something different, really use my range. And he did. Ended up using the lead tools very well and angling very well. Great stuff from Dan Hooker, kind of mixing up the rankings. I think it's a great thing. But I thought Mateusz Gamrot was going to win this one. Kai Kara-France over Steve Ercik. I called that one. I thought it would be by knockout. Kai Kara-France gets it done in round number 1. I thought he's really heavy-handed and can get the finish. So that leaves me 2-2 heading into the main event. Dricus DuPlessis, Israel Adesanya. I thought Izzy would take this one, and he did not. Dricus DuPlessis getting the face crank finish. 3 minutes, 38 seconds of round number 4. Izzy looked good, but showed some defensive lapses late that we just hadn't seen in other parts of his career through his title run. Generally a guy who's fairly hard to hit, very good at controlling range, stuff like that. And a little bit of that's gone. Now, I know he had a long time off, but it is what it is. You can't have defensive lapses against Dricus DuPlessis, who is an outstanding finisher. So Dricus DuPlessis retains the title in round number 4. But more than that, more than just who won and who lost in my picks and all that fun stuff, the future at 185 pounds. The problem with 185 for years is a lot of it through Israel Adesanya's run. 185, the reason he was lapping the field and fighting the same guy twice is it just wasn't a division that had a lot of new blood. It's just we've seen everybody who's worth anything get a title shot, and there's a big gap between those who have and those who have not. Go over the rankings in a second. But one of the things I said leading into this fight between Izzy and Dricus DuPlessis was DuPlessis doesn't have that thing that really puts him above the field like Izzy had in his prime with the speed and the range control and the striking and all that stuff. He doesn't really have that thing. And what I said is blue-collar fighters who don't have that thing, Michael Bisping, Frankie Edgar, there are a few of them who have won titles. They generally don't have long runs because you only need that thing that puts you over the top to really have a long run in a division. So there's that. But Dricus DuPlessis has already beat the toughest guys. Beat Robert Whittaker, beat Sean Strickland, beat Israel Adesanya. So could he have a decent run? Yeah, he's already eliminated the best guys. Will he get a rematch with Sean Strickland? And could Sean Strickland win that? Yes. The last fight was very close. A lot of people thought Sean Strickland won it. So there is a chance he loses to Sean Strickland. There's a chance he loses to Robert Whittaker in a rematch. But the point is, he's already beaten the toughest guys. And below that, the Marvin Vittoris, Jared Cannonier, they're tough, yeah, and they might beat Dricus DuPlessis in a title fight. It's possible. But it's just a division that's starting to age out. We're starting to go, okay, we've seen these names for a long time. Now, when I look at a division and try to think about the future, you think about that next big up-and-coming guy. A lot of people put Khamzat Chimaev in that category. I don't. I don't think he beats Robert Whittaker. But more than whether or not he beats Robert Whittaker is he hasn't won that long, difficult, grueling 5-round fight. Every time Khamzat Chimaev wins a decision, he's like a 185 Michael Chandler. He explodes early, does a lot of damage, and then hangs on in the later rounds. You can't win 5-rounders like that. For example, when he beat Kamaru Usman, who was short notice, not a 185-pounder, if that had been a 5-round fight, he loses. And he just has this problem with long, difficult fights where he either overwhelms you or he starts running out of gas and has to hang on. Champs don't fight that way. Contenders don't fight that way. So could Khamzat be kind of the silver bullet at 185? I don't think so, because he's going to have trouble with those long fights. That's about it. So when Khamzat proves to me that he can win against a Robert Whittaker, and not quickly, if he knocks Robert Whittaker out, that won't impress me very much. Because to me, it's can you win the long 5-rounder? If you can't, even if he knocks Robert Whittaker out, you're not going to just level everybody. That's not how you win titles, not how you have a long title run. So Khamzat Chimaev, despite all his talent, I think we've seen some of his limitations at 185 pounds. So where's Dricus Du Plessis going to go as middleweight champion? He's got to recycle a bunch of the guys that already lost to Israel Adesanya. So could he go up to 205 pounds and take on Alex Pereira? He can. They're clearly running out of options at 205 because much like 185, it's a lot of names we've already seen. And the idea that Alex's star power is great. He's fighting Khalil Roundtree. The idea, I'm not saying Khalil Roundtree is a bad fighter necessarily, but the idea that he's fighting for a title at this point, when he's had some up and down times in his career, I don't quite get. They're just looking for people to keep a popular fighter busy. And that happens sometimes in the fight world. We have a guy at the top of the division. It happened a little bit with Izzy, who's super popular. He's a crossover star, but we don't have a division that's really that compelling. So, all right, next guy. Just throw him in there and keep Izzy busy. Same thing they're trying to do with Alex Pereira. Khalil Rountree's a kickboxer. I don't think anybody at 205 can kickbox with Alex Pereira and win. The guy's just really elite level and really heavy-handed. It's a tough combination to deal with. So nobody with that striking background is going to beat him. You got to take him down and keep him there. And I don't see anyone at 205 necessarily doing that. You don't have a Daniel Cormier. You don't have a Randy Couture. You don't have the wrestle first, everything else second kind of fighter that periodically make their way through 205. It's just not an era where we have one of those. So it's going to be strikers, and strikers are going to get knocked out by Alex Pereira for the most part. Eventually he's going to run out of magic, but it happens to everybody. So Dricus Du Plessis going up. First off, Alex is never going back down to 185 pounds. The human body does not do that well. Once your body gets used to that extra weight, it just wants to stay there. Right? It's much easier to gain weight than it is to lose weight. And he's having success. Why am I going to lose another 20 pounds when I don't have to? Everything's going my way. I'm the king at 205. The worst mistake of TJ Dillashaw's career was going from 35 to 25. Not only did he knocked out and popped and all that stuff, it's why are you going down to someone else's weight class when your weight class has more challenges? That's dumb. I don't see Dricus Du Plessis having that name value where that's going to be a big money fight that's going to really get him paid. If Dricus Du Plessis goes up, sure. And what that really is really a condemnation of 205. They don't have a lot of talent. So, hey, great. The 185-pound champ goes up to try to do it. Same thing that obviously Izzy tried to do against Jan Blachowicz, and it didn't work out. So I don't think he should do it at all. But is that possible? Yeah, I think they're going to try more things at 205 first. I think Alex going up to heavyweight, and I've been on record before saying I don't think he wins at heavyweight. Not against John Jones, right? Not against Tom Aspinall. Not the best of the best. He doesn't beat those guys. But at least it's a big money fight. At least it's huge, and he gets a huge payday and whatever he wants. So I see it much more likely that Pereira moves up to heavyweight for a big money super fight than DDP moves up to 205 for a less big money super fight. Right? I would see one before the other. Still a possibility because there isn't a whole lot at 185. Which leads us to Israel Adesanya. Where does he go at this point? I believe, and I don't know the exact numbers, that he's made FU money in the UFC. He was a crossover star, covered the video game. Think about how much money Jorge Masvidal made. Izzy made more than that. He was champion, getting points, all this stuff for a long time. He's made the kind of money where he can go, been great, I'm out of here. He can do that. That's an option that a lot of fighters don't necessarily have. He does. What is there left for him at 185? It's that constant question of you can't be number one. Do you really want to hang on and be a contender, especially in a division where he's already fought everyone? Nasruddin Imavov, okay. A victorious Khamzat. Right? Is there really a lot to lure a big star into juicy fights that pay a lot and are a good send-off, right? So, like Kamaru Usman, after losing the title, went up to 185 and took on Khamzat Chimaev. Right, big challenge, big name, exciting, kind of interesting. People want to see it. That makes perfect sense. I don't see that chess move for Izzy. Is he going to be a gatekeeper? Tough gatekeeper? Probably not. And would he want to do that, right? There's a certain change in status from contender to gatekeeper that people with FU money just don't want to do. I don't want to do that. And I don't have to, so I'm not going to. I don't know what is in Izzy's head and in his heart at this point in his career. I don't see a ton of options because you don't want... Robert Whittaker was like the perfect gatekeeper because he's solid and he can keep people from, leaping past him. But certain guys are going to beat him, as DDP did. And the idea that he's a good test all around. Izzy's a really unique puzzle with his striking and his range and all this stuff. Is he the guy you really want to keep people at bay at 185, keep him out of the title shot? Do you really want to do that with Izzy? And he costs a lot of money. That's another thing people forget about, folks. When you negotiate a contract and say an 8-fight deal, which are kind of common now, that amount doesn't change. The UFC has to go back and go, okay, we're going to renegotiate. They have to do something. If not, you're still getting paid big money. Now, you're not getting championship points anymore, but your flat rate to fight is still really, really high. And we see it in other sports all the time when, why'd they trade this running back? Running back's really expensive. And sometimes you feel that, they're taking a little bit of decline. Are they really worth this kind of money? Same thing in MMA. Izzy costs a lot of money. And so is it worth keeping a gatekeeper around who's making a lot more money than, let's say, Robert Whittaker? Robert Whittaker was making the kind of money where I can keep around a gatekeeper. He can be, a main event guy in fight nights and then maybe get a title shot. But he makes the kind of money where that's a rational financial decision. I don't know if Izzy is. So that's going to be an interesting question about where Izzy goes. I think it's a tougher question than DDP, is where does Izzy go at this point? And that's in his head and his heart. We should know in the next few months exactly what he wants to do. Either they're going to announce a fight, because with the amount of time he spent off after the Sean Strickland loss, you don't want, as a timing guy with a real tricky game, you don't want to take a ton of time off and hurt your timing. So I think we're going to either get a fight announcement from him in the next month, or we might not see him again. Anyway, appreciate you guys. Let me know what you think in the comment section, and I'll have a special treat for you, my next video about Cain Velasquez right after this.